Okay folks, welcome to part 3 of me messing about with my grandfather's EH Ute. Today we're going to have a look at this fuel tank, see whether I can find out what the problem is with the fuel not pumping through. I suspect it's some sort of blockage somewhere, but until we open everything up we're not going to know. So let me just flip you around, planning on doing. So we have one panel there that I believe is pretty much directly above where the fuel tank is. There's another one here and another one there. So I'm assuming they're access points for something. I'm going to start by taking this one off and seeing what we can find inside. And there we go. So there is the pickup and the fuel sender. It's looking pretty crusty. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that off there. It'll just be a twist fit. I might give it a clean up first so that I don't drop anything in the fuel tank, although the fuel tank's pretty dirty anyway. And we'll remove that, pull it out, and see if we can find if there's a blockage somewhere. Okay, I've just taken the hose off the other end and pushed some compressed air through, and that's what came out. So there is a little bit of fuel there, but it's not much. It's certainly not an entire fuel line full of stale petrol. So I'm going to have to pull the pickup out. I'd say that's where the blockage is, because I don't think there's any blockage in the actual fuel line at all. So onward and upward. Alright, can we get some fuel to come out there? Only got a little bit of pressure, so nothing yet. Aha! We have fuel. There we go. So I've just pressurized the fuel tank, a bit of compressed air, and can confirm we have fuel from the pickup. So next step is to check those lines. Alright, I suspect that there's a leak under here somewhere. Okay, go. No, doesn't seem to be a leak there. Alright, I don't know if there's any leaks at all. Just hang on a second. Okay, plan 3. I've got the wife up the other end. She's going to pressurise the fuel tank for me. I've got all the fuel lines hooked up. So, okay, when you're ready, Alison, give us some juice. Keep good pressure on that so it doesn't leak. Whoop, we have fuel. Alright. Now maybe if we've got the fuel primed, maybe the fuel line's primed, maybe we will get the fuel pump working. But the first thing I need to do is actually get a fuel filter on there, because I don't want to pump that dirty fuel back in. So let's do that, and we'll give it another crack. Alright, we have a fuel filter on. It's going to take a little time for that to probably fill up with fuel if we are going to suck through. Let's give it a crank. There's no ignition, shouldn't start. Whoop. Little spits of fuel coming out. There we go, she's primed. Giddy up. Okay. Well, that's great news. So, shout out to my brother who suggested I prime the lines. I had planned on pushing some fuel through them just to see if there was a fuel leak in the lines anywhere, but we've got them primed. So now we have fuel supply. With that fuel filter on there, I'm happy I'm not going to suck up any rubbish. So I will put hose back on here. I've got a bit of proper fuel hose to put on there now, and we'll see if we can get this thing started again. Okay, hose is blocked off there. We'll give her a little bit of choke. The ignition is on. See if it'll run under its own steam. Oh, wait a minute, jiggle the cable. Pump it up. Alright, let's just get a bit of hot sauce. Righto, bit of juice. And we are running. And we are pumping. Wow. That is awesome. Okay, so she's running on dirty fuel. Put a filter in line. But that is a win. That's an absolute win. Alright. Have noise coming out the muffler. No smoke. Fuel's all going through. We've got no fuel leaks. Let's check this filter area. No fuel leaks there. We are winning. Righto, next job. Fix that radiator. First we might give it a bit of a clean. Thought I'd give this little red engine a clean. Probably never start again after pressure washing it. I'll probably get it all dirty. So it's a new day. I went to start it today and the fuel lines needed repriming again. So somehow the fuel is getting back up into the tank, draining back into the tank and not sucking. So I don't know. Any ideas? I'd appreciate it. I'll turn the power on first. Well, that's a bit cleaner. Let's be able to see where all the oil's coming from now. I put a bit of water in the radiator. It doesn't hold that very long, so I'm pretty sure it's leaking in the core around about here on the driver's side. So the radiator is going to come out. I'm still having this issue with the fuel siphoning back into the fuel tank and emptying the fuel line. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. I have to pressurize the fuel tank each time once I've left it for a while to get the fuel to pump again to get the car started. So another problem to work on. Anyway, next step would probably be pull this radiator out, I think. Alright, pulled the radiator out. You can see the damage here. It's leaking through the core, and I mean it's original. It's an original Holden radiator, but I am thinking there's something else that I've discovered, and as I said, we're all learning as we go along. If that is not the correct radiator for, if you can see down the bottom there, and some of the more astute of you may have already picked it up, this engine's a 173. So it's ever so possible that that radiator is probably not suited to this engine because it may not be cooling enough. I am just going to get a new radiator. I think by the time I get it repaired, it's going to cost me almost as much as a new one anyway. They're not very expensive. If I can find an OEM original, I will. If not, I can get an aluminium one or aluminum for you American viewers, and I do have some American viewers actually. So 170 Australian dollars, which is not expensive at all. So I think rather than try and mess about with this one and get it fixed, I'll just buy a new one. Alright, so this morning it is a new day. I decided I'm going to put this original fuel pump back together. So I'll give you a bit of a demo of how to do it. You'll see this has a protrusion there, and then there's a little mark there. So if you were to get a new one of these, that mark and that protrusion fit together like that. So seal and spring in. Now if you have a look inside here, there's a hole, goes all the way through. Screwdriver in there will hold up this lever inside, okay, so that you can get the diaphragm hooked back in again. So, and obviously I haven't got a reconditioning kit for this at the moment, but I'm just going to put it back together because I was curious as to how hard or easy to be. So now we have a screwdriver holding this in and holding the lever up, and our protrusion lining up with our mark on the bottom will actually line us up so that this catch here, or sorry, this hole here, will hook on to the lever once we push down and maneuver it around so that we can get that hole to slide over the lever down the bottom. So it's not, you can actually feel where that lever is as you're pushing down, and then when you get that lined up, you heard it click into place. So now we have our diaphragm back together again on our lever. You see here that there's the mark and there's a protrusion on the diaphragm. So now all we need to do is just put this back together. And you'll remember when I initially pulled this down, I put a couple of file marks in. Now I just need to find them so that we know which way it goes. So there's one file mark there. I think the other one is around here. There we go. Those two file marks are now lined up. Put the screws back together, put the top back on it, and I probably will reinstall this eventually on the car, because I do want it to be as original as possible, and I do like the sight glass. You can see whether there's fuel coming through, and at the moment, because I've got the issue with the fuel not pumping correctly, I'd like to be able to see if there's fuel coming through when I'm trying to start the car. I can't understand why the fuel is not staying in the fuel line. It just keeps siphoning back into the tank. So there you go. That's how we put the diaphragm back in. I'm going to put it on, as I said, see whether it works. I'll prime the fuel lines up, and then perhaps it might do a better job than the original one, than the new one. But we'll see. Alright, the old fuel pump back on. As you can see, there's fuel in there. I primed up the lines the same as what I've been doing with the other one, and that fuel pump is working. So it's nice to have the original fuel pump on there. I'll keep an eye on it. Probably will get a kit for it eventually and redo it, but in the meantime we'll move on to some other things until we can sort this fuel line situation out. Okay, this piece of hose, you can see here, was joining a repair on the fuel line. Now it is perished on the outside. It still appears to be sound, and it didn't appear to be leaking very much. Anyway, I have since replaced it with a fresh piece. Anyway, I started the car and it was running, and it appeared that the fuel bowl here was staying full. So I don't know if I fixed my problem or not. Alright, we're waiting for some parts to come. Got another problem I've got to tackle. The wipers on this have got a return problem. So they go up nicely, get to about, and obviously there's a gear stripped or something somewhere, so I'm going to pull them off. If I push on this, it will go back to the bottom. So if I turn it off, I have to give it a helping hand to go back down. So these wipers just have a spline, as you can see there. Pop that off. That one's been painted by the look of it, so I'm going to get the other side off and pull the grill off, see if I can find out why it's not returning properly. So what you want to do with these to get them off is get yourself a big flat screwdriver, obviously protect your paintwork, and you've just got to get under that lip, but not too far under, and try not to scratch your chrome. Just give it a twist and they pop off, simple as that. So you could struggle with that for a while if you don't know how to do it, but that's how it's done. Okay, with the grill off, obviously none the wiser as to why it's stripping, because I can undo that nut down there, and then there's 3 bolts or 3 screws in the wiper motor that'll have to come out so that I can have a look at the gearbox inside. But yes, before I can do that, we need to remove that one so that it'll all come out. Alright, wiper motor is removed. 3 Phillips head screws, and it goes up underneath the back end of the bonnet. You know, we'll know where it is. Anyway, there's 3 Phillips head screws. They're not that easy to get at, but we managed to get them undone. Let's take the top off this and see if we can find out why it doesn't go down. So the wiper blades will go up, and then you can hear something spinning inside. So it could be we've got some gears, some teeth stripped off our gears, or might be just an alignment thing. Find out together when we pop the top off this, assuming that it's going to do so easily. Okay, I've removed the top. Just had to undo these screws just so that I can pull this back a little bit further. It's very dry looking in there. Could probably do with a bit of grease in there. And pop this out. You can see there's a gear there. If I can get it out past this wiring. Alright, I'd say that would be our problem there. If you can see that, it's she's a bit worn out. Now, if this goes all the way around, which I'm assuming it does, it just continuously rotates, then it's always going to get stuck in that area there where it's stripped. So there's a worm gear in here which rotates, and as it spins around it'll get caught in the gears here. So at this point here, which is where the flat spot is, it's not turning anymore. So what I'll do, I'm going to give all this a bit of a clean up, and let's see if we can't maybe get it to work. Just by giving it a bit more lubrication so it's not having so much resistance turning, and then if that works, all well and good. If not, maybe I can find a part, maybe I'll just get a new wiper motor for it. So and see how we go with that. Alright, well, we can't fix the wipers, so I know we're jumping around a little bit, but the sender out and the pickup out of the fuel tank, and that is one crusty piece of stuff. So the fuel gauge is always showing full, and I would imagine that's because this is probably not working at all, but we'll have a good look at it. It's not blocked, but it is very crusty, and I don't think it's the source of my fuel or lack of fuel problems, but I'm going to give it a clean up, see whether it's salvageable. Otherwise might be time for a new one. Well, that looks a little bit better. Still not sure whether the sender is working correctly. I did test it and it was intermittently showing some resistance, so we'll put it back in and see what happens. And in case you were wondering how these work too, this is a locking ring that goes over the top of the sender, and you can see that there are 3 gaps in the locking ring, and each one of those gaps, let me try and get some more light, each one of those gaps slide underneath that tab there in a what is it, clockwise direction. So there is a special tool you can get to pull these out, but if you just get a big bladed screwdriver and just gently tap on one of the tabs, you can just push it around so it locks in place. Unfortunately, it's a two-handed job, so I won't be filming it, but I'll show you the end result. Okay, all back in position, all locked in. I'll reconnect it, do the old priming of the lines again, and see if that made any difference to the fuel pumping through. And in case anybody was wondering how I'm pressurizing the tank to prime the fuel lines, I have a air compressor, piece of the old poo noodle on it, pool noodle, and then just pressurize the tank. You can hear the pressure's going in. There doesn't appear to be any leaks because it blows back. So just a few primes, usually gets enough fuel through it to start the pump working. Let's see if that'll start now. Right, so now it's running. There is a little bit of fuel coming in, so the lines are primed and there's enough fuel coming in to keep the motor running. The bulb doesn't fill up completely, but I'm not sure that it has to. It is getting fuel down through the filter, so I'll let that run for a little bit, see whether it keeps going. Well, no. It didn't fix the problem. So back to the drawing board. I didn't think there was an issue with it. There's no blockage or no leaks or anything. So I don't know. It's just siphoning backwards. I turned the motor off for about 3 or 4 minutes, and it stopped pumping. And it's not the fuel pump. I've put a new fuel pump on it, and that hasn't fixed it. So let's see how we go a bit further down the line and see what we can do. So we're waiting on some parts. There's a few things I need to get sorted before I can see if I can get this thing a safety check done on it. But we'll have another video shortly. I'll probably be working on the brakes, I would imagine. So I'll end this video here, and I'll catch you next time. Stay beautiful.